The wind was so cold that night it felt like it could cut through bone, the kind of winter chill Canadians know too well, the one that makes the streets empty, the windows glow, and the world fall silent. But just as Daniel locked his front door, hoping to finally warm up after a long shift, he heard a trembling voice behind him. "Please, we just need shelter tonight." He turned and saw a young mother holding a thin blanket around her little boy, her breath shaking in the frozen air. He didn't know their names. He didn't know their story. Yet something in that moment pulled him in, as if fate had been waiting at his doorstep. Daniel was a single dad himself. His daughter, Emily, was upstairs brushing her teeth, waiting for him to read her the bedtime story they never skipped. He hesitated. Inviting strangers in during a cold Canadian night wasn't usually a question, it was a risk. But the way the little boy's fingers were turning red, the way the mother tried to hide her fear for her child, triggered a memory he never talked about, the night years ago when he stood outside with baby Emily in his arms, begging someone to help him after he lost everything. One stranger had saved him, and now it felt like his turn to return that kindness. "Come inside," Daniel finally said. He opened the door wider, letting the warm light spill out into the dark. The mother's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, thank you so much." She walked in slowly, holding her son like the world could still collapse beneath her feet. Inside, Emily peeked from the hallway, her little face curious but gentle. "Dad, who are they?" she asked. Daniel knelt beside her and whispered, "People who need us tonight." Emily didn't ask anything else. She simply nodded and ran to grab the extra blanket her grandmother had knitted last Christmas. The mother introduced herself as Sarah and her son as Noah. She explained quietly that they had been traveling across the province to stay with a relative who promised them a place to start over. But the moment she arrived, the door never opened. Her messages went unanswered. With no money left and no bus running this late, they wandered the snowy streets looking for a warm corner to sit in. "I didn't want to knock," she said, her voice cracking. "But Noah, he was so cold. I couldn't feel his fingers anymore." Daniel listened, feeling the old ache in his chest, the familiar pain of trying to hide panic from a child. He made soup, the same simple recipe he always made on nights when the world felt too heavy. Sarah watched her son eat, tears sliding down her cheeks, not from the temperature but from relief, the rare kind a parent feels when they realize their child is safe, even if just for a moment. Later, when Noah fell asleep on the couch with Emily's blanket wrapped around him, Daniel found Sarah sitting quietly at the dining table, staring at her hands. "You didn't have to help us," she said. "People don't usually open their doors anymore." Daniel replied softly, "Someone once opened theirs for me. It's the only reason I'm standing here today." Sarah looked up, surprised. He didn't explain much more. He didn't need to. Pain recognizes pain. Struggle recognizes struggle. The night grew deeper and the wind grew harsher, rattling the windows. Daniel set up a mattress for them in the small guest room he barely used. As he turned to leave, Sarah whispered, "I won't forget this. Ever." And Daniel realized something. Maybe kindness wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic moments. Maybe it was simply about seeing someone, truly seeing them, when the world looked away. The next morning, sunlight spread across the snowy street, making everything look softer. While Emily and Noah giggled over cereal, Daniel made calls, community shelters, support centers, even a friend who worked with a local nonprofit. Within hours, he helped arrange temporary housing and a job lead for Sarah. She could finally breathe again. As they stood at the door preparing to leave, Sarah hugged Daniel tightly. "You didn't just give us shelter," she said. "You gave us a chance." Daniel smiled at Noah and ruffled his hair. "Take care of your mom, okay?" The boy nodded with the determination only children carry, hopeful, honest, full of belief. When they walked away, Emily tugged her father's sleeve. "Dad," she said, "why did you help them?" Daniel knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Because once, someone helped us. And when the world gets cold, sweetheart, we warm it by helping someone else." That night, Daniel realized the truth he had forgotten over the years. Kindness doesn't just save the person receiving it. It heals the person giving it. In a country where winters can be harsh and life can be unpredictable, sometimes all it takes is one open door to remind us of our shared humanity. And maybe, just maybe, that's how we make the cold nights a little warmer for everyone.